We have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds a superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. She's going to miss all the action on the...
This wasn't just an opinion, it was more like a forecast. The moment Caitlin Clark was officially removed from the WNBA All-Star Game, everything about the event started to unravel. The cost of admission didn't just decrease, it plummeted, dropping by nearly half, from $121 to just $64. But what we'll explore today is how that dramatic 48% decline became more than just a number. On the surface, it represented a letdown for fans, but behind the scenes, during the tense discussions over the league's new collective bargaining agreement, that figure became a critical piece of evidence. It revealed the WNBA's most significant vulnerability. And in doing so, it might have given the players' union the upper hand, potentially allowing them to reshape the future of the league. This is a story about the growing tension between the league's management and its players, all sparked by the sudden exposure of the WNBA's financial challenges. If you agree, like we do, that there's often more to the story than what you see in the headlines, hit that like button to show us we're on the right track. It keeps us motivated to keep digging for the full picture. Now, let's take a step back and set the scene. The 2025 All-Star Game was supposed to be a shining moment for the WNBA, especially in Indianapolis, home of the Indiana Fever. This was intended to be the highlight of Caitlin Clark's era, the league's brightest star, taking center stage in her own city during the biggest event of the year. Big-name corporate sponsors were backing the event, exclusive packages had sold out, and the promotional machine was in full swing, eager to show the world that the WNBA had grown stronger and more influential than ever. Everything was lined up until just days before the big event, everything came crashing down.
We do start our show, though, with unfortunate news out of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark announced today that she will miss both the three-point contest and the WNBA All-Star Game this upcoming weekend in Indiana after re-aggravating a groin injury in that final minute of Tuesday's win over the Connecticut Sun. Clark had missed 4 games and the Commissioner's Cup final with that groin injury earlier this month, and now will be out for this weekend's festivities, which really stinks for fans, but you know that if there was any way...
And just like that, everything came crashing down. This wasn't a simple case of a player sitting out. This was the key figure of the event, the star, who had been driving record-breaking ticket sales and viewership, suddenly absent. It was almost as if you could feel the atmosphere drain from the city, the entire event quickly losing its strength, now resting on an unstable foundation. While the media focused on the immediate fallout of how it offends, a much deeper, more significant story began unfolding behind the scenes. The league was facing a major issue, and the players were watching closely. It's easy to get distracted by the surface-level stories, and of course the media did. The biggest headline coming out of that weekend was Angel Reese's marketing campaign. While Caitlin Clark was recovering from a real injury, Reese, along with Reebok, took over Indianapolis with billboards and social media posts promoting her new signature shoe, including the now viral slogan, "Walk in your trap, take over your trap." Many saw it as a strategic move aimed at her sideline competitor.
A negative word about injuries. Caitlin Clark has never said a negative word, or to be honest, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, she did show it by her actions. She didn't need to say, "I'm taking over Chicago." She did, however, go and put up 31 and 12, set a career high with 12 assists, be the only player in the history of the WNBA ever to have 31 and 12 in a game. She did in fact do that and then try to hype up the Chicago crowd. So it's fair enough, you want to say, oh, Caitlin Clark did this, then show it with your actions. Go and win MVP. Don't just be like, this is my city. Don't just come in and be like, this is my city. You've never won a game. Has she won a game in Indiana? I don't think she's ever won a game in Indiana.
And that's where most of the attention went, the manufactured drama of a one-sided rivalry. But for those who take a deeper look at the story, to sift through all the noise and focus on the real signal. While everyone was caught up in debating Angel Reese's tactics, the true power players, the ones within the WNBA Players Association, were looking at an entirely different set of data. And what they uncovered gave them a crucial advantage they hadn't had in years. This is the data the WNBA's leadership absolutely did not want to be made public, especially at this crucial moment. First, let's talk about the ticket prices. We know they dropped a shocking 48%, going from an average of $121 to just $64 within a day of the injury announcement. But there's more. Before the injury, the game was projected to be the most expensive in WNBA history, with resale prices averaging $262. That value evaporated almost instantly. Then there's the viewership. The 2025 All-Star Game attracted 2.19 million viewers. On its own, that sounds solid, and it did make history as the second most watched game ever. But compare that to the previous year, when Caitlin Clark, fully healthy, made her All-Star debut. That game brought in a record-breaking 3.44 million viewers. That's a drop of 36% year-over-year. This wasn't a random event, it's part of a clear pattern. When Clark sat out a game against Chicago earlier in her career, ticket prices for that game plummeted by a jaw-dropping 71%.
The demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout. This was conveyed with a July 18th post from NBA Central that wrote, quote, "The get-in price for the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis has dropped 48%, from $121 a ticket to $64 a ticket after the news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing." I mean, the tickets lost 50% of its value. These numbers are confirmed by TickPick's website, currently having the All-Star Game's get-in price at $64. In a July 16th article from Front Office Sports, which was posted before Clark announced she'd be sitting out, was $121.
That right there. That's leverage in its purest form. It's one thing for players to claim they deserve more. It's a whole other ballgame when you have undeniable, hard evidence showing how reliant the league's financial success is on its top stars. Every owner and executive, including Commissioner Engelbert, saw those numbers. And in that moment, they realized the players saw them too. The carefully crafted narrative of league-wide growth, it just got exposed as something far more fragile than they had let on. So, what's the move when you're a player and you've just watched the league's biggest weakness get laid bare for all to see? You don't sit around. You take action. And that's exactly what they did. In what could only be called a bold power move during warm-ups for the All-Star Game, players walked onto the court wearing black shirts emblazoned with a blunt forward message in stark white. Pay us what? You owe us.
That Caitlin Clark missed it, the crowd would have been exploding. The crowd would have been exploding. The arena would have been exploding. Oh man, a big miss as far.
This wasn't just some random act, it was a deliberate move, executed at the exact moment when the league's vulnerability was at its peak. With viewership numbers up for debate and the value of the product being openly discussed, the players made a bold statement. They drew a line in the sand for all to see. What do you think of that move? Was it a brilliant display of strategic timing or a tone-deaf moment that risked alienating fans? Drop your thoughts and analysis in the comments below. This public protest wasn't just a statement, it set the stage for a deeper, more private battle. To fully understand the stakes, you need to know the two key figures at the heart of this clash. On one side, you have Cathy Engelbert, the WNBA's commissioner. Her job is to represent the 30 league owners and safeguard the league's financial interests. Publicly, she describes the CBA negotiations as preliminary and emphasizes constructive dialogue. Her goal is to project stability and maintain control. On the other side is Nika Ogwumike, president of the WNBA Players Association. A respected veteran and passionate advocate for the players, she isn't swayed by the league's calm narrative. She represents the athletes who feel they're generating massive value but aren't being fairly compensated. As she put it bluntly, "We get a very tiny percentage of all the money that the WNBA makes. So we want a fair and reasonable percentage of that." Two sides heading toward inevitable conflict. One wants to preserve the status quo, controlling the narrative. The other, armed with undeniable evidence that the status quo is built on shaky ground, is prepared to use it to force change. The showdown? It was now unavoidable. Let's break down the specifics of this confrontation, because this is where the story shifts from the court to the boardroom. This is about the financial future of the WNBA heading into these negotiations. The players, under Nika Ogwumik's leadership, came prepared with a clear set of demands. They're fighting for a more equitable share of the league's growing revenue, especially with a new 11-year, $2.2 billion media rights deal about to kick in. They want higher salaries, especially when you consider the glaring disparity between the current WNBA minimum salary of $66,000 and the NBA's minimum of $1.1 million. They're also demanding better travel accommodations, expanded rosters, and more support for mothers in the league. These aren't just luxury asks. These are basic quality of life issues and fair compensation demands. Before the All-Star game, the league's argument was predictable. We're growing, but we need to be patient and fiscally responsible. They controlled the narrative, highlighting slow but steady progress. But after that weekend, the whole tone of the conversation shifted. The WNBA Players Association could now walk into those negotiations and place the 48% drop in ticket prices right on the table. This wasn't just about hopes for future growth anymore, it was about hard evidence. Now, Nika Ogwumik can look Kathy Engelbert and the league's owners in the eyes and say, your entire business model, your record viewership, your ticket sales, your merchandise, all of it depends disproportionately on a small group of superstars. That weekend exposed what everyone in the room knew, but didn't want to admit. Without these stars, the perceived value of the product collapses. So, when they say, pay us what you owe us, it's not a request, it's an invoice for value. That has already been delivered. This is the heart of the confrontation. The players aren't just asking anymore. They're presenting undeniable proof, challenging the entire financial foundation of the league. And when the players raise these real issues, they often get responses that feel less like genuine dialogue and more like this,
Over the last few days has complained without being fine-wordy about officiating. I just want to see about your thoughts on if officiating is an issue and how it can be improved. It's clear there seems to be problems or disconnect between what players and coaches feel.
That deal with it mentality is exactly what the players are pushing back against. But now they have the numbers to show that the league can't just tell them to deal with it anymore. The stars have proven their worth. In fact, the league needs the stars far more than the stars need the current salary structure the league offers. This puts Kathy Engelbert and the owners in a tough spot, forcing them to make a game-changing decision. Do they agree to a transformative deal that compensates the players at their true market value, or do they resist and risk sparking a conflict that could alienate the league's biggest stars, stalling the league's momentum? But just when it looks like the players have the upper hand, a new